Hello and welcome back to Media Beat. I'm Chris Ahrens, editorial director here at Mediabistro, and we're here with Jane Velez-Mitchell of HLN. And in this segment, we want to talk a little bit more about cable news in general. Jane, you've been with HLN now for about 2.5 years, and a lot of the talk in cable news these days has been about the political divide on some of the cable news networks, some of the different hosts. HLN really isn't in that universe. The programming there is a little bit different. But what do you think about Fox News and MSNBC? As a journalist, you've been a journalist for a long time.
Well, I think any debate is healthy. That's where we're in a free country, and people get to argue, dialectics, argument and counter-argument to reach a higher understanding of the given subject matter, as long as it's done from a good place and it comes from a spirit of all of us learning and coming together and not from just vitriol and ugliness. But I do say there is a third way, and not to just plug my book, but Addict Nation is part of that third way. It's not just about left-right. There's many things we can agree on. Take a look at overcriminalization. It's something that the left and the right can agree on. This huge, massive prison industrial complex we have. All right? The liberals are upset about it because they feel that poor minorities and the underclass are being fast-tracked into prisons. The conservatives are upset about it because it's the ultimate big government when you're locking up all these citizens. So why don't we find our commonalities, and also why don't we stop just talking politics and start talking about solutions? I'll give you an example. The healthcare debate. Healthcare, all the brilliant minds talking about healthcare. Why don't we talk about health? If we actually improve the health of Americans, the health care bill wouldn't be so expensive, and we might be able to all embrace it. But instead of talking about that, we're talking about all the minutiae about the bill. Well, let's talk about the fact that the U.S. government is responsible for the obesity crisis because the agriculture subsidies to agribusiness are what is allowing all this cheap food to be the pipeline into fast food.
And these are some of the things you talk about on your show?
Yes, I try to bring this up whenever possible, and it's ironic because the intelligentsia doesn't. Maybe they're not so smart because these seems to
misnomer.
They seem very obvious to me, and yet the big minds out there aren't talking about this because it's such a game, left, right, left, right.
Yeah. So we mentioned this is your third book,
yes.
Addict Nation. Your first book was called Secrets Can Be Murder, and it featured a lot of crimes that most news viewers are familiar with: Scott Peterson, Andrea Yates, Phil Spector. What do you think it is about Americans' fascination with crime stories?
Well, back to my book again. It's one of my chapters, Addicted to Crime, Addicted to Violence. And we get a hit off of it. We get a rush off of crime. And this is true in how we actually conduct our criminal justice system. And the example I use is this guy, John Gardner, who killed raped and murdered these two beautiful girls in Southern California. Now, we waited till he committed that horrific crime to crack down and pull out all the stops, and money is no object. But we had him 10 years earlier when we captured him for molesting a girl. But the thing is, she got away before he could rape her. So he only got 5 years in prison, and then he was let out. So it's part of our reactive justice system. And what I say in my book is, instead of waiting for the big horror, why don't we prevent crime? Why? Because crime prevention is emotional sobriety. Emotional sobriety for an addict is boring. Just like people feel like my life will be dull if I give up alcohol. Well, we feel as a culture, if we give up violence, things will be boring. So you can't take credit for a crime that wasn't committed. That's part of the problem to our addiction with violence. There are no crime shows about the prevention of violence. If CSI did a show about the prevention of violence and stopping a crime before it happened, the ratings would nosedive.
I think there was a Law and Order that did that.
Really?
It was like before the crime happened, yeah.
Oh,
But
it still happened. That's
Yeah.
the problem.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is the addictive mentality is just give me the next hit, give me the next fix. It's not about long-term solutions. It's not about prevention. That's emotional sobriety, and that's what we're missing in our culture.
Okay. We're here with Jane Velez-Mitchell. More coming up in part 3 here on Media Beat.